Ethan Walker was a man who prided himself on his achievements. Born into a middle-class family, he worked tirelessly to climb the ladder of success. By the time he turned 35, he was a household name in the business world, with a net worth that kept growing year after year. Ethan's life was a whirlwind of meetings, high-stakes deals, and glamorous events. Yet, amid all the luxury, there was a gnawing emptiness he couldn't quite place. Despite his wealth, Ethan's personal life was barren. He had grown distant from his family and didn't have any meaningful relationships. To him, success was about numbers, profits, market shares, and rankings. The idea of slowing down or reflecting on his life never crossed his mind. On the other hand, Alina Bennett's life couldn't have been more different. She lived in a small but cozy house in a quiet town. Alina's days were simple yet fulfilling, teaching at a local school, tending to her vegetable garden, and spending time with her siblings and parents. She found joy in the little things, like watching the sunrise or sharing a meal with her family. Alina was no stranger to hardship. Her father had lost his job during a recession, and the family had struggled ever since. Yet she never let her circumstances dampen her spirit. Her kindness and resilience were well known in her community. People often wondered how she remained so optimistic despite the challenges she faced. When Ethan arrived in Alina's town for a potential business expansion, their paths crossed in the most unexpected way. During a lunch break at a local cafe, Ethan noticed Alina sitting at a corner table, laughing with a group of children. There was something about her carefree demeanor that intrigued him. She wasn't like the people he was used to, those who were constantly chasing status or wealth. Over the next few days, Ethan found himself seeking excuses to interact with her. He learned about her family, her struggles, and her dreams. Despite her limited means, Alina seemed content in a way Ethan couldn't comprehend. It was this stark contrast between their lives that drew him closer to her. One evening, after a community event where Alina had volunteered, Ethan decided to make his move. Standing under the starlit sky, he told her about his feelings. He painted a picture of the life he could offer her, a life of luxury, travel, and comfort. But Alina's response was not what he expected. She politely declined, her tone firm yet gentle. "Ethan," she said, "I appreciate your feelings, but I can't accept your proposal. It's not because I don't admire you, but because I believe we want different things in life. I'm happy with what I have, and I don't think a life of luxury would bring me more joy. True happiness isn't about what you have. It's about how you feel and the people you share your life with." Her words left Ethan stunned. No one had ever rejected him before, let alone with such clarity and conviction. Ethan couldn't get Alina's words out of his mind. That night, as he lay in his luxurious hotel suite, surrounded by all the trappings of success, he felt a strange sense of unease. For the first time in his life, he questioned whether his version of happiness was truly fulfilling. The next day, he found himself wandering through Alina's town, observing the simple lives of its residents. He saw children playing in the streets, shopkeepers chatting with customers, and families gathered around dinner tables. There was a warmth and authenticity in their lives that Ethan realized he had been missing. Determined to understand Alina's perspective, Ethan decided to spend more time in the town. He extended his stay under the pretense of exploring business opportunities, but in truth, he wanted to learn more about the life Alina cherished so deeply. Ethan began volunteering at the local school where Alina worked. At first, the children were wary of him. His polished suits and expensive watch set him apart from everyone else. But as the days went by, they warmed up to him, especially when they saw his genuine effort to connect. Through these interactions, Ethan discovered a part of himself he had long buried. He laughed with the children, helped them with their lessons, and even joined them in painting a mural on the school wall. Each day spent in the community chipped away at the walls he had built around his heart. But the journey was not without its challenges. Ethan struggled with his own skepticism and fears. Was he really capable of change, or was this just a fleeting phase? His inner conflict deepened when his colleagues back in the city began questioning his absence. "Ethan, you're risking your reputation. People are noticing you're not as focused on the business," one of his partners said during a phone call. Despite their warnings, Ethan couldn't bring himself to leave. Alina's words had planted a seed of doubt in his mind, and he needed to see where it led. Meanwhile, Alina remained wary of Ethan's intentions. Though she appreciated his efforts, she couldn't ignore the vast differences in their worlds. One afternoon, as they walked through the town's marketplace, Alina voiced her concerns. Ethan, I don't understand what you're trying to prove. You don't belong here, and I'm not sure you ever will. This life is so different from yours. Her words stung, but they also fueled Ethan's determination. He realized that he wasn't just trying to win Alina's affection. He was trying to understand what had been missing from his own life. Ethan began to reflect deeply on his past. He thought about the sacrifices he had made to achieve success, the relationships he had neglected, the moments of joy he had missed. Slowly, he began to see the cracks in the life he had once considered perfect. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan started to change. He stopped checking his phone obsessively, learned to enjoy quiet moments, and even began helping out at a local soup kitchen. His transformation didn't go unnoticed. Alina, who had been skeptical at first, started to see a different side of him, a man willing to step out of his comfort zone and embrace a new way of life. One evening, as they sat on a bench overlooking the town's river, Ethan finally opened up to Alina. You were right, he admitted. For so long, I've measured my worth by my wealth and achievements. But here, I realize that none of it means anything without purpose or connection. I've never felt this alive before. Alina smiled, but her expression was thoughtful. Change isn't easy, Ethan. It takes more than a few kind gestures. It's about how you choose to live your life every day. Ethan nodded, her words resonating deeply. For the first time, he felt ready to embrace that challenge. Ethan's journey of self-discovery reached a pivotal moment one night when the town hosted its annual harvest festival. The square was alive with laughter, music, and the warm glow of string lights. Families gathered, children played, and the community came together to celebrate the season. Ethan, who had been helping with festival preparations, stood on the sidelines, taking it all in. He watched as Alina danced with a group of children, her laughter ringing out like music. She seemed so free, so genuinely happy, and Ethan couldn't help but marvel at her ability to find joy in the simplest things. But as he stood there, a thought struck him. He had never truly lived like this. His life had been a series of transactions and achievements, but never moments like these, moments filled with connection and meaning. Later that evening, Ethan found himself alone with Alina, sitting by the bonfire as the festival wound down. The air was crisp, and the stars above seemed to shine brighter than ever. Alina, he began, his voice uncharacteristically soft, I've spent my entire life chasing success, thinking it would make me happy. But being here with you has made me realize how empty that pursuit was. Alina turned to him, her eyes reflecting the firelight. What do you mean? She asked. I mean that I've built a life I thought I wanted, but it's not the life I need, Ethan admitted. Watching you, seeing how much you value the people and moments around you, has made me question everything. For the first time, I feel like I understand what happiness really is. Alina smiled, but her gaze remained steady. Ethan, understanding is the first step, but real change comes from action. It's not enough to see the problem. You have to live differently. Her words stayed with Ethan long after the festival ended. That night, as he lay in bed, he made a decision. He would start over. He would rebuild his life, not around wealth or status, but around purpose and connection. The next morning, Ethan began putting his plan into action. He started by reaching out to his estranged family, reconnecting with his younger sister, who had been hurt by his neglect over the years. Their conversation was filled with tears, but it was a step toward healing. He also began simplifying his lifestyle. Ethan sold his penthouse in the city and opted for a modest apartment closer to his family. He downsized his company, delegating responsibilities to trusted employees so he could focus on projects that truly mattered to him. But the biggest change came when Ethan decided to invest in Alina's community. Inspired by her dedication to the local school, he funded a new library and resource center for the children. He didn't do it for recognition. He did it because he had seen the difference education and support could make in their lives. As these changes unfolded, Ethan experienced a profound shift in his perspective. The man who once measured success in profits now found joy in watching children read their first books or seeing his sister smile during a family dinner. Alina noticed the transformation too. One day, as they walked through the newly built library, she turned to Ethan and said, "You've changed, Ethan. This isn't the man I met a few months ago." Ethan smiled. "I owe it to you. You showed me what I was missing." Alina shook her head. "You did this yourself. I just gave you a push. The rest was all you." That moment marked a turning point not just for Ethan, but for their relationship. Alina, who had been hesitant to let him into her life, began to see him as someone she could truly trust. Ethan's journey had brought him full circle. He had started as a man defined by his wealth, but had become someone defined by his purpose. Ethan's transformation didn't come without hurdles. As he began to implement his new way of life, he faced criticism and resistance from multiple fronts. His former colleagues accused him of abandoning his ambition, while some in the business world labeled his decisions as impulsive and unwise. "Why would you throw away everything you've built?" one of his closest business partners asked during a heated phone call. But Ethan stood firm. "Because everything I built was for the wrong reasons," he replied calmly. "It's time I do something that matters, not just for me, but for others." Though confident in his choices, Ethan faced moments of self-doubt. The challenges of simplifying his life and maintaining his new priorities were not easy. He often questioned if he had made the right decision, especially when faced with financial setbacks or when his new ventures didn't yield immediate results. Alina became an anchor for Ethan during these difficult times. She encouraged him to focus on the progress he was making, no matter how small. "Real change takes time," she told him one evening. "You're rebuilding your life from the ground up. Be patient with yourself." One of the biggest tests of Ethan's resolve came when a lucrative business opportunity landed on his desk. It was a multi-million-dollar project that would catapult his company back to the top of the industry. The only catch? It required his full attention and a return to his high-pressure, workaholic lifestyle. For days, Ethan wrestled with the decision. The old version of him would have jumped at the chance, but the man he was becoming knew better. In the end, Ethan declined the offer, choosing instead to stay true to the values he had begun to embrace. This decision solidified his commitment to his new path. He focused on his philanthropic efforts, working closely with Alina and the community to improve local schools, fund scholarships, and create job opportunities. His initiatives began to have a ripple effect, transforming not just the town but also inspiring others to contribute. Through these challenges, Ethan's confidence grew. He no longer felt the need to prove himself to the world. Instead, he found fulfillment in the smiles of the children at the library, the gratitude of families who benefited from his efforts, and the quiet moments he shared with Alina. Ethan's relationship with Alina also deepened. They had started as two people from vastly different worlds, but now they were partners working toward a shared vision. Alina admired Ethan's resilience and his ability to confront his past mistakes, while Ethan was continually inspired by Alina's unwavering principles and strength. One evening, as they walked through the town square, Ethan turned to Alina. "You were right," he said. "Change isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small choices we make every day. And I want to keep making those choices with you." Alina smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "I've seen how far you've come, Ethan. I believe in the person you're becoming." Their bond, built on mutual respect and shared values, became the foundation for a relationship that neither of them had anticipated but both cherished deeply. Ethan's journey of overcoming challenges wasn't just about redefining his own life. It became a testament to the power of resilience, humility, and the willingness to grow. Months turned into a year, and Ethan's life was unrecognizable from the one he had once lived. The sprawling penthouses, the luxury cars, and the high-stakes boardroom battles had been replaced with quiet mornings, meaningful projects, and a community that had come to embrace him as one of their own. The once distant, driven businessman was now a man of purpose and connection. Ethan had become a mentor to the local youth, sharing his experiences and teaching them skills to build their own futures. He also found joy in the simplicity of life, planting flowers in the school garden, cooking meals with Alina's family, and attending town events. Ethan's professional life had also transformed. His business ventures now focused on ethical and sustainable initiatives. He launched a foundation to support underprivileged communities, and his work earned him a reputation not for wealth, but for integrity and compassion. The most rewarding part of Ethan's journey, however, was the impact he had on others. His decision to prioritize purpose over profit inspired several of his former colleagues to reevaluate their own paths. Some joined his philanthropic efforts, while others began pursuing passions they had long neglected. One evening, during a quiet dinner with Alina and her family, Ethan reflected on how far he had come. As they laughed and shared stories, he realized that he had finally found the happiness that had eluded him for so long. After dinner, Ethan and Alina took a walk through the same park where they had first spoken about their different lives. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, and the air was filled with the soft hum of crickets. "I never thought I'd be here," Ethan said, his voice filled with wonder. "I never imagined that stepping away from everything I thought I wanted would lead me to something so much better." Alina looked at him with a mix of pride and affection. "It's not about where you came from, Ethan. It's about where you're going and who you choose to be." Ethan smiled. "And I choose to be here with you." As the months passed, Ethan and Alina's relationship continued to grow. Their partnership was built on trust, respect, and a shared vision for a life filled with meaning. Eventually, Ethan proposed to Alina, not with a flashy display of wealth, but with a heartfelt promise to honor the simple yet profound values she had taught him. Alina said yes, knowing that Ethan had truly changed. Together, they began building a life rooted in love, purpose, and community. Ethan's journey was more than a personal transformation. It was a testament to the power of self-reflection, humility, and the courage to embrace change. His story illustrated that true wealth isn't measured by material possessions, but by the relationships, purpose, and joy we cultivate in our lives. For those who feel trapped in the pursuit of external validation, Ethan's journey serves as a reminder. Happiness begins within. It's about living authentically, cherishing the present moment, and prioritizing what truly matters. As Ethan stood with Alina on their wedding day, surrounded by friends, family, and the community they had nurtured, he felt a sense of peace he had never known before. He realized that his journey wasn't about reaching a destination. It was about the lessons learned along the way and the people who made it meaningful. Life, he now understood, wasn't about accumulating riches. It was about finding balance, building connections, and embracing the moments that take your breath away. And as Ethan looked into Alina's eyes, he knew one thing for certain. He was finally home.